Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Code Initiative. In this session, we will perform a Q&A session with Arpan. So let's get started. I am Rashmi and further this session will be joined by Arpan, who is a full stack developer, has expertise in JavaScript, Google Maps API and many more. To know more about him, check the link below in the description box. So here's my first question for you, Arpan. And I think every beginner would love to ask you about that. What started you for such a deep interest in coding? Were you interested in this since your childhood or in your secondary grades or you grew it later?
So ever since we were introduced to HTML, I was hooked to programming. I know HTML is not a programming language, right? But the idea to, create things on internet was just fascinating to me. And after 10th, I downloaded various ebooks and YouTube videos. I followed so many tutorials and I learned JavaScript, I learned HTML, CSS, more in depth, and I learned PHP. I do not work with it anymore, but yeah, that was one of my first language I ever used. So yeah, that's how I started web development.
So, my next question is what were the things you wish you knew when you started learning coding? And what are your favorite languages to work with? And can you explain why?
One of the most important thing I guess I should have known that you cannot master a field, right? You can be very good at it, but the idea of mastering a field is just a myth, because every day you learn something new in that field. Every day I'm still learning so much every day about web development, and that's just so yeah. And why I think that was most important thing, because uh, that really held me back, like whenever I came across a project that I should have done, and I thought to myself, yeah, I should learn this thing first, then I should move on to this. No, but it never happens really. So just take up that project and learn the things you need for that, in the way of making that in the progress, right? So yeah, that's what. And your next question, which is my favorite language. um, so I love to work with JavaScript, and recently I've started working with C++ as well, because uh, I don't actually have a valid reason for it. I'm just working with C++. JavaScript, I really love the environment and the community we have. So many frameworks and so many people, so many open source contributors, and just I just love working with it.
So further moving to next question, what's the difference between MongoDB and SQL? Could you please explain it?
This one I get a lot. So I won't tell you the difference between MongoDB and SQL. I'll tell you the difference between NoSQL, which is MongoDB is an example of NoSQL, and SQL databases. So basically, what happens? SQL databases are basically um, have what you say, tables in them, right? So there will be a structured table, like there will be specific columns that we have to specify. So basically they are well structured. SQL, NoSQL are very flexible. Okay, so databases like MongoDB and Redis and Firebase, Firestore and all, these databases need not to have a structured, um, what do you say, defined schema, although we can give, but it need not to have that. So that's why that's the main difference between NoSQL and SQL. And based on your preference, you can choose any. I am working with NoSQL databases for a long time now, and SQL databases, I have actually started working with them. So in the near future, maybe you'll see one or two projects in SQL databases as well.
So my next question, here it comes. what is the use of API and how can we execute a particular API?
Well, if you want to know the full form of it, it's application programming interface. And to understand what it is and how it works, like, let's take an example. Okay, so say I have an app. Okay, basically I have a backend and database with data in it, which other people can use in their own apps, right? So what I can do, I can create APIs, or I will give URL, also known as endpoints, to them, to the user who want to use my data in their app. And what they can do, they'll request through that URL, which is basically the API, okay, the interface through which they can talk to my app and get the data, and my app also through that only URL, it will provide the data to their app. So that's how the APIs work, um, in a nutshell, I guess.
So further moving to next question. What's Heroku? As you have mentioned in your portfolio that you have worked with it. So I would like to know much more about it and what's the real time use of Heroku?
Heroku. Heroku is basically you know cloud storage, not storage actually. There we can publish our apps, deploy our apps. It's a cloud service, okay, and we can deploy our apps, manage them, and it is very simple to use. Okay, so I love Heroku because it's really simple. It is integrated with Git, so uh, if I'm using you know I just have to initialize a Git repository. I have to create a Heroku app through the command line only, and I'm good to go. And I can deploy my app using just a single command. So yeah, Heroku is, I guess, very easy to use, and yeah, it's have a free tier for students and all. So yeah, so I love Heroku, and yeah, so it's just.
And last but not the least, can you explain gatsby.js? Because I don't know anything about it, so it would be nice if you.
Oh boy. So I have used Gatsby for only actually just one project. I'm learning it, but I can obviously tell you what it is. Okay, so Gatsby, if you will go to its site, Gatsby, it's just a static site generator. And what it means basically, it's written in React. Okay, so you can write React, that which is very cool because I love React. So yeah, you can write React, and when you build it, it will generate your static site, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. What cool thing is, in React, if you view the source pages, it will show you the JavaScript, right? But in Gatsby, it will generate the static HTML files, so that if you go and view the source pages, it will be what do you say, HTML, not JavaScript, and which is very powerful, which is very cool, because it gives it'll enhance your SEO as well, because Google search, web crawlers, and all will come. They can execute your JavaScript to read your web pages, which in the case of React is very not good. Okay, but in Gatsby, since it's HTML, Google web crawlers and other search engines, bots can easily scrape your web, and can increase your ranking in the search results. That's one thing. But the problem with Gatsby, like, if you're using a server for it, so as I said, it generates a static site. So if you have a blogging app, like I created the blogging app in Gatsby. So like, I have blogs. Okay, so whenever I'm publishing a new blog, I have to regenerate the static site and re-push or deploy it to the server. That's the problem in it. Okay, it will not fetch the latest stuff, resources from the server itself. We have to generate the static site again and again whenever we make changes to the server. So that is one thing you have to keep in mind, because that might not be useful everywhere, like in real-time chat apps. You don't want to do that, right? So yeah, that's just a static site generator, and since it is static site generated, it makes it very very fast. So yeah, it's blazing fast static site generator, Gatsby.
Thanks, Arpan, for joining us and clearing our doubts. We seek many more interviews with you. If you have any query, you can comment down below and just like, subscribe, and share our channel.